everyone. Sorry, I was just reading a message from YouTube. Sorry about that. Great, lovely to see so many of you here. Welcome to our YouTube live. Say hello in the box, let me know you're here. It's always lovely to see who's joining us today. So, I hope you can hear me okay. Give me a little wave so I know that you can hear me. Oh, great. Hello from South Carolina. Lovely. Hi, Heather. Oh, great. So you can hear me. Perfect. So we're here to talk about the biggest sensory organ in the body. And many of you responded to our thank you for letting me know. Many of you responded and said skin, because we used to think that skin, oh, lovely everyone, oh, you're so nice, thank you so much. We used to think that skin was our biggest sensory organ until people started to become interested in fascia, fabulous fascia, as I call it. It's one of my favourite topics. And all my classes are what you might call fascial friendly. Hi Ian, good to see you. Thanks for joining me, everyone. We're going to do some movement soon, but it's going to be fascial friendly, hypermobile friendly movement. Those of you who don't know me and you've just stumbled upon this channel, I'm Jeannie Dibon and I specialise in working with people with hypermobility and EDS and HSD. And providing movement therapy to help people move better, to feel better, and more connected to their bodies. So, some of you will already know what fascia is, some of us won't. We might have some vague idea. Now, I'm not an anatomist, so I'm not going to be, I like to keep things simple, keep things accessible, so I'm not going to be getting into the technicalities of fascia. If you want to know more about these technicalities, please go and visit Gil Headley's YouTube channel if you don't already know him. He's an anatomist, he does some amazing dissections, so please go and check him out anyway because he's a really interesting guy. But I have done cadaver dissections. I'm very interested in it, about trying to understand what's actually going on under the skin when we're moving and when we're moving about in our everyday life. What does it look? I've also done that, any sort of health professionals watching. So anyway, I'm going to keep it simple. So what is fascia? So we do now know it's the biggest sensory organ in the body. So it's full, and I'm terrible at remembering numbers, but it's full of dense nerve endings. Okay, so it's our biggest organ for proprioception and interoception. Okay, it's our biggest sensing organ. Now it's interesting because fascia is one type of connective tissue. There are other types of connective tissue, so not all connective tissue is fascia. So fascia is one type of connective tissue. It's made up of collagen, dense bundles of collagen fibers, and yet for our condition, those of you watching who have a connective tissue disorder, of course collagen is the main protein in that, and that's what's mutated. So I don't know whether that has something to do with our lack of proprioception. It's just my thought. There's no evidence. We know that we lack proprioception, but nobody seems to know why. So who knows what the fascia might be doing in terms of our proprioception. But I'm going to read you one of the official sort of definitions of what fascia is. Okay, so it's a band of fibrous connective tissue that envelops, separates and binds together muscles, organs and other tissues. And it's full of nerve endings and touch receptors. And it has the highest density of nerve endings of any other part of the body. So it's very, very sensitive, okay? So where is it? So if we will just take our hand and you just very gently start to sort of draw little circles on your skin here, very lightly, you're actually, or you could even pick up, we can pick up our skin, can't we? So we can pick up our skin, and just under that, you're already touching the superficial fascia. So it's right there, okay? So wherever you touch, when you have a massage and it feels really nice, that's your superficial fascia that you're feeling, because that's the thing that's got all the nerve endings in it. Okay, so it's literally just below our skin. And then under the superficial fascia, you have your deep fascia, and we also have visceral fascia. Okay, so as the description says, fascia doesn't kind of stop. And then, a bit like muscle, you've got muscle, and then you've got, tendon and ligaments and bone. Fascia is part of all of that. It's continuous, so it doesn't stop. It doesn't, separate because there's a muscle or there's a bone or there's an organ. It's wrapping around everything, okay? So there are no straight lines in the fascia. So if you ever look at any photos of fascia, you'll see the fibers are going in multiple directions, which kind of we need, right? Because our bodies move in multiple directions all the time. So we couldn't have, imagine if we were made of straight lines. How would we be able to turn? How would we be able to twist? Because all the fibers would be straight and all our muscles would be straight. It just wouldn't work. So we've got this beautiful design of continuous elastic material that's wrapping around everything in our body. Okay, so literally when we say everything's connected to everything else, it's because it is. And that's why I don't like looking at individual joints. When I look at someone, I'm looking at the whole body and what the whole body is doing, okay, and what's impacting other things. So the fascia will facilitate muscle movement, but it also responds to lack of movement. And I know that sometimes we have this issue because we can't move for various reasons. Maybe we've been bedbound for some time, or we've been sick. But what will happen when the fascia isn't moved regularly, it starts to stiffen up and tighten. So when we feel these restrictions, that's the fascia that is stopping us moving freely, because it loves movement. We need to keep it hydrated, and the only way to keep it hydrated is through movement, okay? So it loves sustained pressure, but it loves gentle pressure. So it doesn't like to get beaten up. So, we don't want to go around forcing ourselves. So I always say, don't push through the pain. Don't do anything that your body's not ready to do. Because the minute you try and force, the fascia will start strict and get tighter, because it senses this mechanical overload. It's very responsive to mechanical load. So if I'm trying to stretch my hamstrings and I'm forcing them and doing all this, or stretching my quads, the fascia's like, oh, what's going on? Let's start to tighten up. I don't like that feeling. So fascia wants to be treated gently. That brings me on to this guy. Excuse me. The foam roller. And we use the foam roller, right? Those of you who are in the Zebra Club will know we've got a couple of classes in the foam roller. It's quite hard, tough plastic, and I know you can get soft ones, but we don't ever go around rolling out our fascia on our foam rollers in the Zebra Club. We use the foam roller. It's a brilliant piece of equipment for facilitating movement, for challenging stability and balance. We do lots of yummy things on it, but we don't go around rolling out our ITB bands, because why would I put, sorry, some people are having, can you all hear me? Lots of cut. It might be my internet. Sorry guys, I hope you can still hear me. Why would we go, fascia loves gentle manipulation, why would we lie on a foam roller and start rubbing our IT bands across this very, very tough surface? What was I going to say? Sorry, that internet thing threw me off there. So yes, we wouldn't really want to be doing that. Yeah, what I was going to say is Gil Headley, who I mentioned at the beginning, has a brilliant video on foam rollering the ITB band and probably give you some good reasons why we shouldn't be doing it. And that's for the general population. Now, if you've got delicate tissue that bruises easily and sprains easily, I'm not sure putting your full body weight on a foam roller is probably the best thing to be doing. Okay, but as I said, go and look at that video and you can make your, if you are foam rollering, maybe have a think about that after you've looked at the video. If you do feel restrictions and you want to roll out your quads, what if I have a very soft foam roller? Yeah, I said there are soft ones. I've got a soft one as well. It depends how you're using it. I mean, I'm not keen on putting my whole body weight on top of a roller and rolling up and down on it. Apart from that as well, you know, you've got to have good shoulder stability to be able to roll your body weight up and down a roller. So, yeah, lots of people know Gil Headley. He's awesome. Go check him out. But it does have cadaver material in it, so I'm just warning you, if you're a bit squeamish, you don't want to look at human bodies, please be careful. Now, this sort of thing, so it's a little spiky ball thing with handles on it, sort of physio tools, I much prefer, not that I do very often anymore because I do so much movement, but I would much prefer to roll this. I'm just going to drop the camera so you can see what I'm doing. So here I could roll my ITB band out, but I've got control about the amount of pressure I'm putting through the tissue. And I can go in multiple directions, like my fascia is going in multiple directions. I don't just have to go up and down, I could go sideways, yeah? So if you want to do some kind of fascial work, have something that you're in control of, even a spiky ball. I mean, I think this is better, but in the absence of that, just rolling the spiky ball up and down, so much better, I think, for our delicate tissue than rolling around on a foam roller. But that's just my opinion, okay? If it's something you enjoy and it's, you know, you get benefit out of it, obviously, who am I to say don't do it? It's just my views. So, thank you, Ian, for voting for the Zebra Club and Gil. Thank you. So, what we need to do then, daily movement, let me put this back up for now. Daily movement in lots of planes of movement, because our fascia is doing this and wrapping around, and it's wrapping around all our organs. Daily movement is going to keep it hydrated, it's going to keep it healthy, okay? So we want to do lots of movement. When thinking about how we move, and we're going to get onto the movement in a second, some of you will know this, tensegrity, yeah? The concept of biotensegrity, so bio being, biology, the body, tensegrity being a network. If you look at this is just a children's toy, but you can see none of the little struts are actually touching. They're suspended in this network of continuous elasticity. Okay, so I like to think of our body as very much like a tensegrity model, in that it can contract. So if I do a movement, it might contract and the bones might come closer together, but it will expand back to its original shape. Yeah, so as long as I'm moving correctly and I'm not pulling too hard on one structure, maybe, my pecs used to be really tight and I was told to stretch them. So I'd stand on a door frame and I'd do all these stretches and nothing ever changed, right? Because these guys were just stuck. And it wasn't until I strengthened my back muscles that these guys could start to release and my shoulder dropped back. But no amount of stretch was going to change that tightness in that fascial tissue. So when we're moving today, I want you to think of moving very similar to this model, of everything being connected to everything else, but everything being suspended within a network of elasticity. So That's ideally what we want, yeah? We tend to have this tissue that is a little bit lax, yeah, not really feeling that elastic, that can kind of rebound into its shape. So what we try and do is build elasticity, okay? And that's how I want us to move today. So before we get on the mat, you can do this, and I want you to grab a piece of your t-shirt or whatever you're wearing, your whatever, and think of this as a fascial restriction. So if I had a tight right hip, which I do have because I had an operation on there, so I start pulling all the tissue around my right hip because it's tight. Now you can see that the pull of my t-shirt is going down like this, and I've got quite tight all around here. So I've got all this restriction around my right hip. I also feel quite tight through here. It's kind of bunging out here. Okay, so that's one area of tightness, which is now restricting me around other parts of my body. Now I want you, if you can, I want you to hold whatever you've grabbed for your restriction, and I want you to just walk around your house, your living room, wherever you're doing this, your kitchen, and I want you to try and walk normally and see if you can feel that restriction, because this is what the fibers will be doing under the skin. So if I've got some restriction, they're not just going to be in straight lines, they're going to be coming from multiple directions. So I might start getting a bad shoulder or a tight opposite shoulder, maybe even a tight knee, who knows? Now that's just one restriction. So have a little walk around your room and see how it feels. Can you still swing your arm? Do your hips move properly? How is it impacting you? And then imagine if you had another one, because oftentimes we have more than one tight spot, don't we? So imagine you had another one somewhere else in the body, and you can just imagine that and try and walk with this other restriction. And we start to see how tight fascia can really start to impact our movement. So what do we need to do? We need to start to be gentle with this and start to loosen it off so that it gets a bit more glide and a bit more slide, and I can move my arms a little bit freer, and I can rotate and I can twist, okay? So that's the concept I want you to think about today as we start to move. When you're moving, if you feel some restriction, don't fight it. Don't push into it and go, oh, right, I'm really gonna stretch this, okay? I want you to think about the breath and think about how can I expand? Even if there's a restriction, I'm not going to push into it, but I'm going to think of all the fibers moving in multiple directions, and I'm going to breathe, and then I'm going to come back. Okay, so remember, fascia likes to be treated gently. We don't force it, we don't push it, we don't beat it up. Okay, so whatever we do today, I want you to be thinking of your whole body, not just the area that might be feeling tight wherever it is. Can you move into the whole body? Okay, so let's come down to the floor. I'm going to move my camera down so you can see my mat. We're going to do some sideline work, so you might want some sort of head support, a cushion, a towel, something so that your head's comfortable. As always, do what feels right to you. If you don't like something I'm doing, you don't have to do it. Please look after your body. I'll give alternatives if I can for certain things. So to begin with, you don't need your head support or a little cushion, whatever you need. And just go ahead and lie down. Okay, so let's get settled on our mats. Okay, so remember, we're thinking as a whole unit, not just individual isolated joints and muscles, because we have this connective sheath all over us, and it's sending messages through that sheath about how much load and how much pressure you're putting through a certain area, and it will respond accordingly. Okay, so You can close your eyes, maybe rest your hands on your ribs. And as always, we do our little bit of unwinding. Maybe we've been at work today, maybe we're in the middle of our busy days. So it's always good to take a few breaths and just let your bones find the floor. So we are going to move in multiple directions today because our fascia loves multiple directions. So we're going to be doing a few twists and spirals. So let the out breath settle your bones. And in the settling of the bones, we start to feel heavy. We start to release some of that fascial tension maybe. Maybe you're noticing that you do already have some tight bits. Maybe your shoulders are lifted off the floor, who knows? So just notice it, but try not to judge anything. Just make sure you're as comfortable as you can be. Good. Okay, so very gently, obviously look after your neck if you have any neck instability. I want you to send your attention to your head and to really feel the weight through, don't push, just let your head settle on the floor. And then feel the weight of your head, allowing your head to roll to one side. So I'm trying not to use muscle, I'm not just throwing my head. I'm feeling the heaviness of my head as it rolls from one side to the next. Okay, and some of us might be feeling a bit of a tightness or a stretch down our neck. But go careful, don't sort of throw your head like push-pull muscles. So just roll the head from side to side. And then come back to center. And just bring your forearms vertical. And just let your shoulders rest in that position. And then very slowly start to circle the wrists. And this circling of the wrists is because of the connections and the connective tissue. It's going to be changing something down the forearm, maybe all the way up to the shoulder. So remember, fascia wants to be gentle, so we go slow. And we're thinking of this. Imagine you were wearing like this big, well you are wearing it, you just can't see it, but this big sheath of this elastic material, like a bodysuit. And feel how this bodysuit is changing depending on what you do. That's it. And then come to stillness. And then we're just going to float the arms up so that they're vertical. And remember, as the arms go up, the shoulders are going to get heavier. And I'm just going to do very small circles up here. Now, I'm doing this from a heaviness of my shoulders. So I'm not up here just throwing my arms around. My arms are heavy. So I feel the weight of my shoulder blades and I'm just kind of circling without really doing anything. It's more of a sort of that elastic sling that's holding my arms up. So if you're doing this with a lot of force, try and back off and just let your arms oscillate in their sockets. And then from there, maybe I could invite the right side of my chest wall to open so that my right arm starts to move away from my left arm. So I'm coming down to the floor. You don't have to go to the floor, go to where you want. And then lifting the arm all the way back up. And then we go to the other side. So can you start from the left side of your chest wall and let the left arm open out to the side? Maybe it feels different. And then bring it all the way back up. And then maybe you can do both arms together. So if both sides of the chest wall start to open, now what's the fascia doing here? If I feel tight, I'm going to breathe. Remember, we're being super gentle. And we're visualizing this bodysuit opening and elongating. I should have said, actually, you can't actually stretch fascia. Fascia doesn't stretch. So all that, I did a post about static stretching and dynamic stretching. We're not stretching the fascia. You can't stretch it. okay? But you can expand it and elongate it, but we're not stretching it. So when we do this, we're expanding, yeah? We're moving the fascia, but it's not stretching because it's going to come back to where it was before, okay? Now, remember, it loves to move in multiple directions. So what if I bring my arms across as though I'm going to hug myself, and then I open my chest and come out? And then when I come back, I'm going to put the other arm in front. So I'm just gently moving slightly different angles each time. And we can move a little quicker as long as we're working within that elastic sling. So I'm not just doing this and throwing my arms randomly around. I'm feeling this elastic allowing me to open and close my arms. So it's a very different feeling. It should feel easier than sort of launching your arms in opposite directions. Just check that you're not arching your back as you do that. So when you open your arms, we're not arching our back. Everything stays heavy. And then just bring your arms back to the center and start to lower the elbows down and just let the forearms come down. Palms can be up if more comfortable. Now, take your feet slightly wider. We know our windscreen wipers. We've done them many times. But now we're thinking of this whole connected unit. So I'm going to roll my pelvis to one side. Now, what I don't want to do is let my legs kind of flop together, because that's not really elastic. I've just collapsed. So this, if I come towards you, to my right, I'm going to gently press. Remember, fascia likes gentle pressure. I'm going to gently press into my left foot, and that's going to open my left hip gently, and my legs haven't collapsed together. And then as I release my foot, that tensegrity model is going to come back to its original shape. So as I go to the left, I'm gently pressing through my foot to open the hip. And then I release it and it rolls itself back. I'm not doing that, it just rolls back. So I put the little bit of pressure through the tissue, and when we let go, it rolls back. It's very nice. Last one, we're going to roll. So you're not forcing it. We're not trying to stretch our quads, but you might be feeling a bit of a stretch. Now, remember, it's a whole body. We're going to add the opposite arm. So if I come towards you and I open this hip, can I take my left arm and lift it up? And maybe I can turn my head, because we've already done our head movement earlier. Now, as I'm here, can we feel the connection between our fingers and the front of the thigh? Can you feel the continuous nature of this tissue that runs down your arm, through your torso, down your thigh to your knee? Maybe you can even feel it to your foot. And then roll everything back. So it's a continuous sheath of elastic. As I go the other way, can I feel? I might feel tight in more places. I might feel the restrictions, but can I feel the continuous nature through my whole body? And then I'm going to roll it back, very soft, no dragging, no forcing. One more each side. Again, go to where you feel comfortable. It's not about who can do the biggest range, who's got, it's not about that. It's about just feeling your body as a moving whole, and then come back. Good, very nice. Then we might just hug one leg into our chest, give it a little hug, and maybe do our ankle circles, because that's going to be affecting the fascia all the way up this lower leg. And we can go the other way, and then we'll just do the other one. And then we're just going to pause after this and just see how we feel after doing a little bit of movement. So just take a moment to let's just pick the pelvis up just a little bit, and then put it back down and let it settle into the ground. So let it go. And just take a breath and see how we feel. Now we're going to do a little bridge. So if you've got a lot of head cushion, just get rid of your head cushion so that you don't squash your neck. So feet hip distance apart. little bit of pelvic roll, just moving that pelvis. Now remember, we're thinking that when we put pressure down into the feet, it's going to start this sort of messaging system up to the pelvis, and we're going to come up into our bridge. Doesn't matter how high you come up, okay? But you've now put sort of tension in your network, as it were, yeah? So as we come down, that's all going to release and soften, and we're going to hit the ground and everything's going to settle. So yield to the floor when you land. So again, the feet start this information up, and the fascia is expanding. It's not stretching, it's expanding. And then as I come down, can you let it go? Can you let the tension go? You can let go of the weight of your own pelvis. And we'll just do one more. We're going to stand into the feet and notice what happens. I might only be going to there, that's fine, doesn't matter. And then I can just roll it back down and I can let it go. And just take a moment there and just breathe. Now, very slowly, we're going to roll onto our side, and you'll need your cushions if you're doing the side lying exercises. So grab a cushion for your head so that you're nice and supported. What I don't want is your head like this, because obviously that's not really very comfortable. So we want to make sure we're comfortable. We're going to be here in our chair position. But again, we're thinking of expanding our fascia. So if you don't like weight bearing and doing tabletop or Superman, whatever it's called, this is a great alternative, okay? So settle in, feel the weight, yeah, the pressure of your underside body touching the floor. So that's a response, yeah, that's a mechanical force for the fascia, so feel it. And then all we're going to do, you can start with just the leg if you want, or we could start with just the arm, but we're going to try and do both together in a minute. So let's start with the arm. So from here, can I think of expanding out? So it can either go above you, I'm just going slightly in front of me, it's more comfortable, and then can I bring it back in? Okay, so again, I'm not just pushing and pulling, I'm not doing this. I'm thinking of this big continuous network expanding and then drawing back in, okay? So very much my arm is supported within the fascial network, yeah, and then back in. And then we might try it with our legs. So we might just start to keep the pelvis as heavy as possible and start to straighten the leg. And so you're going to feel that length down that side body and then fold it back in. And then we're going to expand and bring it back in. Pelvis staying fairly still, hopefully. And now I'm going to try both together if I can. Both coming from the center and both expanding, not stretching. So I'm just going to start to reach in opposite directions. Now when I'm here, can we feel the connection between our toes and our fingers? Can you feel the continuity of your skin? Remember, just beneath your skin is your superficial fascia. And then can you draw it back in? So it's not about who can stretch the most. We're just exploring. I might only be going there. It's okay. Maybe I can go further. Listen to your body. But find this sense of breath and expansion as opposed to stretch. Very soft. And then back in. Lovely. Good. And just rest. So we're going to do the other side. So take your time. I'm just going to flip around so I can see you. Well, I can't see you, but you can see me. You don't want to see the back of me. So here we go. Just move up. So I'm just getting settled again. Taking a moment to feel the weight of my body into the mat. And then I'm going to start expanding my arm and bringing it back. Very soft. Yeah, I'm not going to end of range and hanging. Yeah, I'm not locking my arm, not hanging. really try and feel that there's this elasticity that is supporting you. Yeah, so you don't need to hang if you're within this sort of tensegrity suspension. And then try and do the leg. So we're going to just take the leg out. I haven't got any room. Okay, hopefully you've got more room than me. And come back in. I've got to go slightly in front of me for this one. And back in. Okay, and now let's do both together. So I'm going on a sort of a diagonal here, but that's okay. Because the fascia likes to move in multiple directions. And back in, very soft. Feel how you're expanding in two directions, or you're expanding in lots of directions, but we want to feel the continuity, the same material running from your hands to your toes, and then back in, and just rest, and just take a moment to breathe. Now we are going to go on to all fours, so if you don't like being on your hands, you can put your elbows on a yoga block or something, okay, or put your hands on a chair, because all I would like to do is a bit of a cat. So I'll come over here so you can see me. So again, just tuck this in. Again, if I'm in this tensegrity sort of support network, I don't want to be pushing to deform the shape. So just start to move your pelvis a little bit from side to side and see if you can allow your head and thorax to kind of move in opposition. So it's not, oh, I'm trying to do a side bend. Can I just sway very softly from side to side? My eyes are looking down at the floor and I'm just rolling from side to side. Okay, and it's very, very natural. It's not force, force, force. I'm just massaging that fascia, opening my side bodies and feeling that ease of movement. Try not to jam into it. Okay, and then find stillness. And I want you to do a cat slightly differently today. I want you to think of trying to move from here, from your mid-back. So if I came to your house and I picked you up by your ribs and I was lifting you off the floor, your head and your tail would probably drop as I held you in the air by your ribs. And then I decided to put you back on the ground, so I let go of your ribs and the head and the tail will respond by coming back. So back to its original shape. So I can expand by picking up your ribs, but it's very soft, it's a soft cat. And I can put you back down on the floor and you will come back to your original shape, hopefully. Yeah. And one more. I'm going to pick you up. How softly do your ribs move when someone else is picking you up and you're not doing the work? And then let it go. And let yourself come back to your original position. And if you'd like a little break, if your knees allow, we can just sit back and take a little child's pose. Maybe just shift a little bit from side to side if you like the rocking motions. Can you still rock from side to side when you're in your child's pose? Yeah, so child's pose doesn't have to be this rigid thing. We can move, we can breathe. And then you're going to roll yourself back up and bring yourself down back onto the floor or into a comfortable seat. I'm just going to bring my camera back up, sorry guys. Okay, so final couple of things. Thank you for sticking with me. I hope you've enjoyed this fascial class. I certainly feel a lot better than I did, a little bit more hydrated. So however you want to sit, just take a seat. Maybe just roll the shoulders a little bit. Again, if somebody was rolling the shoulders for you, how softly would they roll? So how quietly can you do it? How softly? They're just moving. They're literally moving on their own. Can you make them move on their own without muscular force? That's it. And then just let them settle. Now I'm going to turn slightly sideways so you can see me. I'm going to just float my arms up, back up in front of me, as though they're resting on a table. Yeah, if I was lying on the floor again, they'd be vertical. Okay, so I'm just going to bend one elbow, and I'm going to look at my elbow, this one. And I'm going to rotate a little bit. Again, it's not about jamming into the rotation, but as I start to rotate away from my straight arm, the straight arm continues to go forward, and I can rotate the other way. Now, if I want, that might be enough, but if I want, I could expand, like we did when we were lying on our back. I can open my chest wall and feel this continuous sheet of skin, of connective tissue, of fascia from my little finger to my little finger. And then I can bring that arm all the way back. Now, if you don't want to do it with a long arm, it's too much of a lever, keep it bent. So, let's do the other side. So I'm going to bend the elbow. I'm just going to gently look at it. We've turned our head before, so we just gently move the head. And as I start to rotate, the other arm continues to go forward because my spine is rotating, my ribs are rotating. And I might stop here, or I might decide to open out and expand into space. And then I could fold it back and come back and come back. Okay, so what we don't want to do is jam, 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 mechanical, yeah? That's just joints. That's just, yeah. We want to expand. Can you move this with softness? Let's do one more each side. So bend, look at the elbow. How softly, without muscular force, can you turn? And if you want to expand in two directions, you're also going up through the crown of your head and down into your pelvis, so it's multiple directions. And then swing the arms back. Check your neck's not getting too involved. One more time, we bend. I'm soft. Pelvis is heavy. I look at my elbow. I start to rotate. And as I rotate, it allows me to open my chest more. And I feel this continuity. I can feel under my skin this expansion of the superficial fascia. And then I just roll it back. We did a lot of rolling today, didn't we? And then just lower the arms, softly roll those shoulders out. I have no idea what the time is, guys. I'm sorry if I'm going on because I love fascia so much. I could keep you here for 2 hours. We're just going to do a little side bend to finish off. So we're going to come up. Again, it's not about who can get to the floor. I'm going to stay on this side and just do a little bit of dynamic stretching. In and out, like a wave, just moving in and out of this. If that's too much, you can have your arm here and just practice how fluid is your spine as you move from side to side. And then we go the other side, so we bend. That might feel really nice, but I'm not going to hang around. I'm coming in and out of it. And breathing. Think of that fascial suit we're all wearing. Where's the restriction? Remember, if there's restriction, it wants to move. Yeah, it's there because it's tight, it wants to move. I can do it like this and just move very softly. If you don't like having your hand on the floor, you can just do a little shimmy from side to side, but just feel the movement of your ribs without any force at all. And then just put your hands wherever you feel comfortable. Close the eyes just for the final moment. Take a breath. And I want you to let your fascial suit, network, whatever we're calling it, can you soften it? The whole thing, from head, down the neck, through the chest, down the spine, into the pelvis, through my thigh bones, down my lower leg, into my feet. I want to invite softness. So just below the skin, can you soften? Enjoy that moment of stillness. Well done, beautiful. Just slowly come back into the room, soft gaze. Lovely, very nice. So I hope you enjoyed our fascial friendly exploration. Lovely to have you all here. Any questions? You want to tap anything in the box before we finish? What is the time? Oh yeah, 46 minutes, so that's, yeah, about right. So any questions about fascia, anything before we leave? We're here next month, of course, April, beginning of April, to do some more movement. But if not, it's all gone very quiet. Either you've all fallen asleep, or you're just chilling out on your mat, which is lovely. So if you have fallen asleep, that's great, enjoy. It means you've let go of some of that muscular and maybe emotional tension if you've had a hard day. So very nice. So lovely to move with you. I love doing these sessions. I hope you enjoy them as well. Please subscribe if you haven't already, and I look forward to seeing you next month here on the Hypermobility channel. So thank you again, everyone. Take care, and I'll see you soon. Bye bye.